Thank you all for your participation. And to begin our event, I'd like to invite Mr. Mike Liu, Vice President and Senior Fellow at the CCG, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Liu. Thank you.
His Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of Center for China and Globalization, we would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to join us today. The topic today we are going to discuss is global reach in a protectionist world, new strategy for Chinese enterprises abroad. Today, we are very honored to have distinguished guests join us. And maybe let me start with His Excellency Asim Halafi, Ambassador of Egypt to China. Welcome, Ambassador. Also, we are very honored to have Mr. Xu Jing, the President of China Association of International Trade. 谢谢会长。We also have the honor to welcome Mr. Sabiro Matias, Minister Counselor, Economic and Financial Affairs Section, EU Delegation to China. Thank you. And also we have the Mr. Tamis Khajipa, OECD Senior Advisor for China. Thank you. Last but not least, we have Kevin Wang, Chief Operating Officer of TCL Technology Group Corporation. Welcome, Kevin. So globalization has been going on since, last, I would say, 2 decades. We have seen phenomenal growth in those, especially in those developing economies. And with all these intensified geopolitical intentions, we have seen a rise of protectionists in the global trade, which have had lots of implications in the new globalization. And one of the things we're also very pleased today to have a TCL with us. TCL has been a flagship Chinese enterprise going abroad. If I really recall, back in 1999, it's a quarter century from now. And TCL has been operated today 160 countries and regions worldwide. And its R&D center has been around the globe and 38 manufacturing hubs around the world. So with the TCL here today also, it's a great opportunity for us to witness how we are going to, Chinese business, how to navigate this complex global world. So without further ado, we would like to invite our keynote speaker to give us a special address. The first one, let's invite Mr. Jin to give us a keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. And actually, I'm working in MOFCOM from 20 years ago. I worked in San Francisco for about 3 years. And I worked on China-US trade relations for more than 10 years. So I'm very familiar with American companies, AmCham, American products, American, the brandings, when I have a business travel to the United States, I really bought a lot of, jackets, shoes, and almost my, some electronics. Even now, I still wear some, jackets bought from USA. So when we talk about, the global. When we talk about open market in other places, market diversification, it's a really very difficult question for me. I'm so familiar with the United States. Now you ask me to go to other countries. I don't want to leave U.S. I don't want to leave U.S. alone, because U.S. is still now one of the largest markets for Chinese products, and so familiar with Chinese people. But now we had to, not because when we go global, not because we want to, but because we had to. Because the most important fact is we have Trump in office now within 2 months, and everybody knows Trump and what he talks during the election, and what he's talking now about the future 2 months later. Sorry, so the weather is getting cold, actually, when we took the U.S., 也让我感到很冷啊 feel also very cold. 所以everybody, including our CCL and other Chinese companies, they are talking about no more go to United States. They had to transfer their products into other market or countries, like Europe, like Asian countries, like African countries, like Pacific Ocean countries, etc. Yesterday I went to the China Expo. We still saw a lot of product from other countries, from emerging developing countries, but still there are a lot of American companies like Magnum, like even Apple also in China Expo. So we still want to do business with the American companies. We still want to encourage Chinese companies to make more investment in the United States. And also we want to make more cooperations with other North American and Caribbean and South American countries. But we had to consider other markets. That's what we are facing, that's the challenges we are facing now. So we have representative from OECD, and you know Chinese very, very well. And the Chinese people, they have a more interest with Europe and with American company. But so today we have so many enterprises. We have so many representatives from American embassies. So what should I say, Mr. Zhang? Should we go global, or should we still consist the negotiation with Trump? And we hope the situation could be a little bit better 2 months later when Trump take his office. So let's wait and see. Most of the Chinese people we are considering now, we are thinking now, and the most important thing, we are waiting for the future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Kevin Wang from TCL to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Kevin Wang. Thank you.
Respected President Jin Xu and dear Ambassador Hanafi and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. In recent years, with the reshaping of the global industrial landscape and intensified global trade frictions, we are seeing that localization and regional development is more and more showing the feature for the global supply chain. This is bringing new challenges and opportunities for Chinese enterprises to go global. So how to adapt to this complex and changing environment and to maintain our advantageous position in the global supply chain of the Chinese manufacturing industry. And these questions are very important for Chinese enterprises to go global. Today, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you some of the practice and the thoughts of TCL in the globalization process. We started the globalization since 1999. At that time, we have set up the first overseas plant in Vietnam, starting the arrangement for globalization. And that is a plant for the manufacturing of the color TV. And that we also have set up the first overseas branch in Vietnam. And then in 2004, TCL has acquired the color TV business of French Thomson and the cell phone business of Alcatel. We hope that by having this international merger and acquisition to enter into the European and American market, but actually this cross-national merger and acquisition is not very successful. We have experienced a lot of challenges and difficulties. So it's like we have choked on water during that swimming learning, but actually we also learned to swim through that cross-national merger and acquisition. So later we take very concrete steps in exploring the globalization. We first started to think about expanding the global business in Latin America countries and Southeast Asia countries, and then gradually set up a manufacturing center in different countries in the world.
And then we have been able to build a regional operational system to support our sustainable development in different parts of the world. Today, TCL already has 46 R&D centers, 38 manufacturing bases, covering 160 countries, and globalization has become the most important driver for TCL's development. The past 25 years has brought a lot to TCL. Globalization has really brought a lot to TCL. I think mainly the following. First, we have been able to build a global manufacturing network in order to better adapt to the global geopolitical and economic changes. And by building the steady operational network, we have reduced our dependency on a single market and increased our resilience for supply chains. Take the U.S. market, for example. In 2019, the United States had a unilateral tariff for Chinese exports to the United States. For color TV, an increase of 7.5% and air conditioner 20%. But already, at that time we had operations in Vietnam and Mexico, and TCL could actually export products from these places to the United States. That has avoided the trade barrier, the tariff barrier. And now the overseas factories of TCL have accounted for 90% of the total exports to the United States. And in 2023, TCL smart screen is now number 3 in the United States in terms of sales. And second, that has also forced us to promote industrial upgrading and transfer from a consumer electronics company to a sci-tech manufacturing group. In 2004, we had the cross-border M&A, and we realized that the dependence solely on the market will not help us to achieve our globalization goals, and we must move up the industrial chain, and we must grasp the core technologies to increase our competitiveness. So in 2009, we established the TCL Huaxing to start the semiconductor display industry. In 2020, we acquired a company in Tianjin, and then entering the new energy photovoltaic industry. So this is a state-owned enterprise, actually. And then we had the opportunity to enter the photovoltaic sector. And now TCL Huaxing has already become a leader of global display board industry. supporting TCL smart terminals to become the second largest color TV brand in the world, and TCL Zhonghuan photovoltaic silicon chip market share is also #1 in the world. That has brought a lot of driving forces to the globalized operation of TCL. Third, we are committed to independent innovation and promote globalization through science and technology. Science-tech capability is the foundation for our globalized operations, and we have been continuously strengthening our core technology capabilities. And in the past 5 years, our R&D investment exceeded 57 billion RMB yuan, and we had 110,000 patent applications, and we have R&D centers in Poland, the United States, Japan, and Hong Kong of China. And through such globalized R&D system, we have improved our research capability. And fourth, we have fostered a lot of internationalized managers to build a globalized operational organization. Actually, in promoting globalization, we realized that globalized operations it's not about introducing how many overseas executives. Rather, we need to have a truly managerial team with international vision. So we have been committed to fostering and introducing talent. And we have a Sea Eagle plan in 2006, and we have now cultivated a global talent pool totaling 10,000 people, and we have truly a globalized team with international vision that is capable of adapting to local markets. As a leader of Chinese companies' globalization efforts, TCL has its own journey in the past 25 years, and now more and more Chinese companies are going global, and they have become very important parts in global industrial chain and supply chain system. But at the same time, the new globalization situation has brought new challenges to the enterprises. From TCL's experience, we believe that we must adapt to the changes and achieve resilient growth. The Chinese enterprises must transform the globalized development model, and they should also improve their competitiveness, and through technological innovation and product structural upgrading, they need to increase their core competitiveness in order to move up to the mid and high end of the industrial value chain. Globalization is a long process that requires consistent exploration from the enterprises. So in the future, TCL wants to work together with more colleagues and partners to explore new models and new opportunities for globalization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wang, for your opening remarks and sharing TCL's perspective with us. In the next section, we are pleased to launch our new research report on the globalization of Chinese enterprise. We prepared the English version of slides for the foreign guest. To present the key findings, please join me in welcoming Mr. Zhang Wei, Deputy Secretary General and a Senior Fellow at the CCG.
大家下午好。
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deputy Secretary General and Senior Fellow of CCG, Zhang Wei. A big welcome to you all. You have been here with us at the headquarters of CCG despite the cold weather for this report launch. Yes, this is cold winter, but we have wonderful stories to share. The CCG has been doing research on the globalization of Chinese enterprises. We have done a lot of such studies, and especially when the geopolitics are deepening and globalization has brought multiple challenges to us, and the technology iteration has brought changes to political, economic, and social systems. How to address these challenges? We want to get some patterns in the globalization of Chinese enterprises through our research and studies. We have 6 parts for this report. First one, the background of globalization amidst de-globalization. Second, the matrix model. And third, the application of the matrix model in the globalization of Chinese enterprises. And fourth, this is the major part. That is the case study of TCL for 25 years. Technology, management model, innovations, and its solutions to globalization challenges. And fourth, the going global model against de-globalization. So this model pioneer enterprise has its own way to face the challenges of globalization. We will give you some suggestions. And finally, we also end with recommendations. Big Chinese companies are facing similar global background, but actually it is a background shared by all companies in all countries. First, the rise in trade protectionism. Second, uncertainties brought by geopolitics. And third, technology delinking and reorganization of supply chains posing risks to all enterprises. And finally, compliance and regulatory challenges which are rising. And different countries, different enterprises are making new adjustments in different ways. So we need to know the new logics. If we look at the situation, we will realize that the Chinese enterprises have developed some new policies. For example, they share resources, they build synergies, they share risks, and they work for win-win cooperation. And the trade protectionism against Chinese companies are found in many sectors: daily goods, steel, aluminum, construction materials. It's been there for a long time, and the photovoltaic industry actually started many years ago already. And the new energy car, for example, and e-commerce operators are also facing protectionist measures. Probably there are different excuses for such measures, but at the core, they are all about protectionism. And facing such challenges, the Chinese companies have made a lot of choices. For example, the big trend is like this. Many of the companies are thinking about globalization no matter what. For example, they are facing all kinds of barriers, trade barriers and sanctions. But anyway, the Chinese enterprises are going global at a very good pace. And these are the key trends of the globalization of Chinese companies. First, when the trade barriers are rising, the traditional export model is obstructed. And second, supply chain globalization and localization are both there. So a single model of development cannot be enough to address the challenges. They are making innovations, they are finding new ways of internationalization, and when they need to reorganize themselves to adapt to the changes in globalization, supply chain, they are making adjustments too. And also, there is a growing amount of overseas direct investment. And finally, they are shifting from export-oriented approach to global collaboration. When we look at the model of a globalization strategy, we have a theory, 4 strategies: international strategy, global strategy, multi-domestic strategy, and transnational strategy. The international strategy means that they have standardized products and they have low-cost export, and that is applicable to the sectors that have a consistent demand. And second, global strategy, they are applicable to the sectors with high technology thresholds and similar demands. And third, domestic strategy. Their feature is that they will satisfy the differentiated demands of different markets. And finally, the transnational strategy. Their feature is high local responsiveness. Actually, all companies are facing these four challenges, including TCL. Actually, for Chinese enterprises, they have their own pace in globalization. China started the reform and opening up in 1978. In the beginning of the reform and opening up, Chinese economy accelerated. We have low-cost labor, so that is why our products have low prices. So that is the way to expand markets. They made no investment in brand and technology and channel. That is the early stage. And the second stage is that they are going into the global strategy. That is in the beginning of the 21st century, China joined the WTO, and enterprises are facing more international competition.
Some of the Chinese business realized that they have their own limitations, so they started to improve that. For the Chinese enterprises, they are improving the added value and improve the image of their brand. At the same time, they should make a good preparation if they want to go global, including the case study which is about the TCL. At the same time, they are trying to have these localized business and operation. That is because there are increasing demand for localization. Developing countries also need to add more content of local. So many of the enterprises, based on the condition of different countries, with the difference of the culture, they try to find out their own suitable globalization strategy. So that means they have some difficulties during the management because they have to find out how to better manage the corporate under the different culture background. And then later about these super globalization strategy, especially in the face of these uncertainties. And the major timeline is Trump took office in year 2017, which was out of people's expectation. And after that, they have the priority of the U.S. So we can see the emerging of the protectionism. So people are saying that maybe globalization is disappearing, but actually it is showing on another form. We can see the cases of the very severe challenges to the industry chain and the supply chain. So they have to pay high attention to the localization, but also very flexibly overcome the difficulties and risks of globalization and improve the resilience of the supply chain. Among these, we can see the rising of the trade barriers and the supply chain risks, which are not very in line with the current global trend, because that is manipulated by the political issues. We are also seeing the new regulations being adopted in US and Europe, so that means they are having new requirement for the business to go global. So why we choose the TCL case to share with you, and just now, Kevin Wong have shared with us that they started the globalization since 1999. In the last 25 years, they have experienced a lot of storms and rains, and they also have innovated. I believe that they are the innovation maker, and they are also a game changer, because in the face of different types of the technology challenges, requirements, and the geopolitical issues, they are making the changes by themselves in terms of using the local talents and the upgrading of the technology and the brands and products. They had a lot of innovation. So in the first phase, from the brand globalization, and then they started to have this localization. And second phase is to have the international merger and acquisition. Number 3 is to deepen the multiple markets. And number 4 is to have their transnational strategy. Now let's take a deep dive of the first phase, which is from product globalization to testing localization. They are using the China's low labor cost to massive produce standardized products for export to the emerging markets, gaining market share, and that is their trial and the pilot in Vietnam. They have the local innovation and having the distribution network. They also have the product promotion strategy. In the developed countries, due to the gap of the brand and technology, they do not have enough competitiveness, but they realized very fast. So they have a weak innovation and branding limit competitiveness because in developed countries, they give priority to the branding. In the face of these questions or challenges, TCL has some very in-depth thinking. So in 2004, it's a very important milestone because they have made a very bold decision. That is the acquisition of Thomson's TV business and the Alcatel's cell phone business. And that is entering into the high-end market and optimizing the global supply chain. And also they want to have their own core management team. So that is their experience about setting up the culture, have this cross-cultural management experience. So for us doing the study of the businesses, I think there are some of the reasons for the setbacks. But if we take a longer perspective of the previous 25 years, this is a very good decision. We can see that from the financial indicators. So we cannot have these standalone way of thinking. We have to take a longer and a holistic perspective. And enterprise will be the major player of the history. In the past, the history was written by the country, by the empire, by the heroes. But now, the businesses are writing the history of the globalization. So enterprises, businesses, we should take a longer perspective. So 25 years may be very long for China, not long for a business. But still, we can find out the decision they made at 2004 is very important. Because at that time, the President Li have said that the history will make the right judgment. So I believe that 25 years later, this type of investment is really worth mentioning. And this decision is a very important treasure for the company. Of course, they have their own reflection because you have to make early preparation when you see the trend in industry. You have to find out what other brands are coping with these challenges and the setbacks and continuously improve yourself. So 2 years later, they have regained the vigorous vitality in the market. Phase 3 is to deepening the market presence and building the local responsiveness. They've never stopped of having the cooperation partners with the developed markets, and they are enhancing their brand by collaborating with the leading Western brands and tech firms. So this is like a synergy they have built rather than the competition. And their product have been evolved from a value brand to a quality brand. If it has a very high cost effectiveness, that means it is a very the value is not very high, but now they are the product with the high value. And they have the localization in emerging markets, including Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Latin America markets. They have taken a localization strategy by setting up the production base joint ventures to align with the different demands in different regional markets. And then in 2017, the geopolitical tension has become the external factors to or risks to all the enterprises. And this is the stage of a transnational strategy. And they are building a synergized global expansion model, and that is the way of thinking and actions taken by TCL. And they have combined the global integration with local responsiveness to build a synergized model. By setting up the manufacturing base in China, Vietnam, Mexico, and Poland, enhancing the supply chain diversity, they're also having these coordination, vertical synergy, and complementary between its business and to C business and to customer business. And both of these 2B and 2C operations are going global, continuously building the very strong market momentum. They should have internalized thinking and innovation. So we can find out that by having this local responsiveness, they have optimized the global supply chain to adapt to the market shifts. So it's really hard to predict the market shifts. So it's very important to strengthen the resilience of the enterprises. From the 25 years of the innovation of TCL, and now we are jointly coping with the deglobalizing world. The globalization is of greater reference to all the enterprises. The cross-regional integration and supply chain synergy, global branding and local cultural integration, long-term localization, and all these are very important to the enterprises. So the globalization and the localization are not go against with each other, but they are in line with each other. By having the regionalized and diversified supply chain deployment, they can better respond to the market. And second one is the global branding and the local cultural integration, transitioning from the exporting low-cost product to a market-driven approach, and they are shifting to their market orientation. In a process, they are building the value of building the top brand in the world at the same time, focusing on the local culture that is transformed from the Chinese company to a local company. TCL can become a global leading brand is also due to their long-term localization, and that means once an enterprise having these difficulties, they will adjust the approaches and direction, and they're focusing on the globalization, and they have the patience, and they have this long-term localization approach and focus on the local market. So they are using all the resources on something that they believe will be good for themselves. They are also using the localization to cope with the globalization, and this can improve their resilience. And the last one is the triple benefits of a local global localization approach. This is something the Chinese business are thinking about, because TCL is working to realize in the self-development of the company, at the same time to consider about the national economy and the country destination countries development interest. At the same time, working together with the host country, they are realizing a shared development. And the localized manufacturing can also contribute to the local industry chain. So, with the background of deglobalization, the Chinese businesses should take a multiple perspective to realize the coexistence and the sharing of the benefits and value of the host countries. And they should also shoulder the social responsibility and working together with the local culture and the local community have the sound interaction. And they are working together to build the globalization together. So working together with the host country to set up their capacity of industry, help them to eradicate poverty, improve people's income, create more jobs. So I said that for TCL is a very or the best example for Chinese companies to go global, and they are the leader of the going global of the Chinese enterprises. Through 25 years of experience, they have changed the lessons to the valuable experiences. For the Chinese company or other related companies, I think there are 5 suggestions to them. Number one is to partner with the local firms to build the production capacity. By setting up the joint venture, they can realize the sharing of the benefits, and they should realize the sharing of the benefits and the risks. So this is how the Chinese business can set up these good relations with the host countries. And second is to optimize the global supply chain for resilience and flexibility, reduce the risks and improve response speed with the regional basis. And this is the strength of the technology, and it is also resilient strength. Number three, focus on the brand building and the cultural integration. So that means when building a global brand, definitely you should integrate the local culture together with you. You should strengthen the cultural recognition of the host country and shift the local culture into part of the value of your brand. Chinese firms are also be a bridge for the other countries to learn more about China. It's not just about a product, because the core concept of Chinese is about the benevolence and caring and the love, which are the foundation and the core of China's culture. We do not want the zero-sum game. We want to work together with all the other partners. So that is the very core value of Chinese nation. So we can obviously found this feature in the globalization process of TCL, going beyond the differences of different nations and to realize the coexistence. And that is the soft power of a company, and TCL has made it. And number four is to embrace the long-term development with deep market engagement. Once they found the right direction, they should always pursue that. No matter it is the Trump 2.0 or Trump 3.0, this would happen sooner or later, and there may be other even greater uncertainties. Only when you have the resilience, you can cope with everything would happen in the future with your own ability. Last one is strengthen compliance and social responsibility to reduce the risks. And this is not something about the law and regulation, it is about your core value. That is to follow the local laws and regulations and to show your care and love in your product. This is something the enterprises should pay attention to, and you should create jobs to the local country, and your product is favored by the local people. You are creating opportunities trying to realize the dream with the local people. So they have to help the local to improve the SDG capacity. And at the same time, I think the social and the green transformation is not something of the China would like to realize this transition, but Chinese enterprises should also help the global partners to realize this transition.
And then they will be able to work together to achieve green development. They can build synergies. So the hard technology and the soft green capability are both important. So they must work together to go beyond the mentality of geopolitics and go beyond their selfish interests of their own companies or their own countries. These are narrow-minded. And also facing the climate change and the ethical issues in technology iteration, we need to look for a new kind of business civilization. We hope that just like TCL, the Chinese companies can work together with other companies to build a new type of business civilization for a better future for all. Thank you very much.
All of you enjoyed a very insightful report as my colleague just shared with you. One of fascinating story, if I look at like TCL, what they have been really, explore this global journey. It's not, as Mr. Wang was saying, this journey really through this hard work, dedication, and determination in last 25 years. I still always that remember in very early days around year 2000, I visit TCL in Guangdong, Huizhou, and I look at the people is really very humble, hardworking, and the engineers. So they know how to really, just make a product work. We are waiting for the ambassador to come back, and then we can start this panel conversation. Yeah, please let me invite our distinguished guests to join me on the stage so we can start next session. So this is what we're going to do. And we will start with the two rounds of questions. The first round will be some general question. Yeah, I will invite our guests to share what they think, the current global environment, what the things, guiding principle or ideas for a Chinese company going outside. And the second one will be more specifically tied to Chinese companies as they explore this global market. Obviously, TCL here today is I would say a role model, right, for Chinese company how to navigate this very complex global market. So they have done the product, they have the talent, how they have done the re-engineering of management processes, so on and so forth, including get the global talents, right? So after that, we will open the floor to, after two rounds of questions, we are going to open the floor to invite our friends here to ask a question. You can ask a generic questions, or you can ask a specific question, targeting whoever speaker you would like to, have to get your questions answered. So without further ado, well, we first question we will start with is more like as what we have been saying in a very dynamic and volatile global trading and busy environment. Trade protectionist has gained more momentum to counter the growth of globalization. So what would be your perspective to the rise of a trade protectionist and the danger to the global trade community? So the first one, I would like to invite Excellency, Ambassador of Egypt to China, to share your perspective. Your ambassador, please.
Thank you very much, and I seize this occasion to extend my appreciation to CCG and for this event. And of course, I've listened very attentively to the valuable remarks by the previous speakers, and it's a very challenging context we are living in now in this moment. But I will speak from of course, the perspective of developing country like Egypt. We have been impacted by negatively impacted by the geopolitical events and crisis, whether the war in Ukraine, of course, our grain supply has been severely disrupted with a massive surge in prices, grain prices in Egypt. Egypt is the first wheat importing nation in the world, paradoxically, and of course we have been very negatively impacted from the disruption of the supply from the Black Sea ports, and now we have of course the Red Sea, the maritime links to the Red Sea, of course, with the Gaza crisis spill over to the Houthis, and the Houthis attacking sporadically so Egypt has been one at the center of this. But of course, the region is full of turmoil. Everywhere we see West Libya has its own crisis, Sudan has its own crisis, Gaza, as I said, Syria, so forth. It's a very turbulent scene. And of course now major powers have come to realize that Egypt is a cornerstone of stability in the region. With this stable stability very much needed, and that's why we have good partnership with the US, with China, and the European Union. This gives Egypt quite a position in navigating this protectionist and this deglobalized context. because we are offering probably a way out of this very much competition by offering incentives to various parties. We are, of course, having good tariff agreements with the European Union, with the African, General African AFTC, whatever, African Free Trade Area, and the Arab region, of course, and now with China in the Suez Canal zone, within the Belt and Road Initiative. So Egypt is positioned to act as a go-between, so to speak, as a good vehicle, good conduit for this till this protectionist wave is over. And my view is that in the long run, the protectionism will not last because there are several interests at stake. And so it's a political expediency. And of course, in the end, many global interests and companies will bring pressure to bear to have these protectionist trends reversed in some sort. But meanwhile, it's paying, of course, it's toll on many economies. Having said that, of course, we enjoy quite a good number of partnerships with China, as I said, and of course, we have a low-cost labor. We have now exceptionally devalued Egyptian currency. So, of course, this is a good... so the risks are there, the turbulence, the geopolitical crisis, but also the opportunities are there. And navigating through them needs a bit of skill, but it's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I look at this as very insightful. Yeah, we are in a very dynamic, I would say, also lots of turbulence here, in the global geopolitical context. And on the other hand, also we need the more country like Egypt to be able to be the connecting dots, to connecting all the major stakeholders, because all the challenges we see today is still, I would say, is temporary. Eventually the globalization and we free trade, all these things should be prevailed, right? Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. If I may play back the same question with Mr. Sabino Matias from EU perspective, what's some takeaway? What are some the rationale behind in attacking this so-called rise of protectionist world? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also as the ambassador, I am happy to be here and contribute with the European Union view on this very important issue. I would like to highlight as a starter is that, in my opinion, dealing with the challenges of globalization is not de-globalization. So, I mean, if we are facing challenges and we don't deal with them, then the risk is that the problems become bigger and at the end we end into a real protectionist spiral. So, I mean, and this is the way we see the things in the European Union. So the globalization has been extremely positive in terms of global development, but perhaps it has not been so positive in terms of delivering a stable global economy with the challenges that this come. So we really need to look into these issues, and of course now in the current circumstances, if you put this together with everything that is going on at the geopolitical sphere, and in particular the war that we are facing in Europe, then I mean you see that there is a real need to tackle these challenges. These challenges, we in the Union, of course, we are committed to open and fair globalization where we are all able to compete. Because I mean, in fact, for example, the fact that the globalization has been successful implies that there are many more economies in the world that become more competitive. So there is competition. In the Union, we are not afraid of competition. In fact, we think that competition is positive. If you see the European Union, the internal market has been built on the basis of competition, that this is what delivers real progress. But of course, competition always comes with a level playing field and fair rules. This is why, for example, in the European Union, we have our state aid framework. And it is these principles that are motivating the whole European economic constructions, the ones that we apply to our relationships outside Europe. Of course, competition implies that you need to adapt because you need to be competitive. To compete, you need to be competitive. And every country, every economic bloc has to look into itself and see how can I adapt better to this world. How can I, because if I adapt better, then I will be better contributing to the overall goal of having a more stable economic growth for everybody. And we are doing this in Europe. Yesterday, I mean, this meeting here comes very handy because yesterday there was the inaugurational speech of the new European Commission where our president, Madame von der Leyen, she just highlighted three key issues for Europe that will drive all our reform process, which is competitiveness, of course, green, which is something that is facing all of us, and the third one is resilience. Because another thing that has come with the success of globalization is the fact that we have experienced certain issues with regards to the security, which means that we are excessively dependent on certain trade partners. We are here not pointing to anybody, but we are pointing to the fact that this is not good, but this is not good in any economic relationship. So this is why we are also putting our focus on economic security, but in the context of the overall positive framework of globalization. We experienced that with COVID. We have experienced that with the excessive dependence on energy supplies from Russia. So, I mean, if we really want to have a stable economy in Europe, we need to tackle these issues. And this is not bad for our trade partners, because in fact it is good. If Europe grows, if Europe is more stable, I mean, it's good for everybody else. In the same way as if China grows and if China is more stable, it's good for everybody else. So, I mean, these are our main considerations. Of course, all these problems, we deal with them in a multilateral fashion, on a negotiating fashion, because many of them will imply, I mean, things that need to be changed or the things that need to be better dealt with. And this is our approach is that, and of course we have a multilateral framework and a rules-based framework that we are committed to continue applying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look at Mr. Matthias. I look at this as a very authentic and insightful, because globalization is very deep in the Europeans abroad, I would say. It's not look at the problems as we're running into, as negatively say globalization is bad, right? It's all the problems or challenges present new opportunity to study how to solve the equation. On the other hand, the certain things will be, still prevail. Rules, multinational mechanism, be able to, welcome the competition, because competition drives for innovation. And based on a set of rules, multi-stakeholders be able to address the issue collectively, then we will be in another round of a better world, right? Thank you so much. Let me keep the same question for Temis. Yeah, Temis, because we have the ambassador speak for the from Egypt perspective. We have Mr. Matthias speak from a European perspective. You represent the OECD, one of is my, highly regarded international economic institution. What's your takeaway, or how do you see current challenges as we are running into in this globalization journey?
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation again, and I'm privileged to speak here together with the ambassador and our colleagues. Indeed, much has been said about the challenges that we face in global trade, investment, and global cooperation. And I do believe and I do agree with what Mr. Martinez just said, that we need to address these challenges. Now, coming from the OECD, of course, we are advocating free markets, global trade, and global cooperation. But most importantly, we provide a platform to discuss these matters, a multilateral platform which is open not only to the OECD members, but also non-members. Secondly, what I would like to highlight is how we manage to keep trade and investment flows, and what are the conditions and what we could do. In this regard, the OECD does help governments all across the globe to make sure that the regulatory environment is conducive to trade, free trade, and also for investment. And we have different indicators also used, by the way, in China, such as the Services Trade Restrictiveness Index or the Foreign Direct Investment Regulatory Restrictiveness Index. These are indicators that help governments to assess the environment and to make sure that the laws and regulations, they help maintaining the free flow of trade and improve the business environment in the country all across. Secondly, I believe that under the pressure and against the backdrop of this challenging environment, we still need to find the platforms for cooperation, the instances for the dialogue, but also the common denominators. And as just has been said, the rules, standards, those could be the common denominators, internationally recognized standards. Let me give you an example, and I will be talking about later on. Companies are under pressures because the expectations towards the corporate entities are increasing. They need to identify the risks along their whole supply chains. They need to mitigate the risk, and they need to address challenges related to the green transition, climate change, biodiversity degradation, employment, human rights, labor force, and all these matters need to be handled or taken care of by companies, and the pressure is growing. So what we do in this regard, we think that a compass in tackling these challenges is responsible, what we call responsible business conduct. And we set principles and also due diligence guidances for companies so that they would be able, it's just like a checklist, they would be able to identify the challenges throughout their whole supply chains. How to mitigate these challenges? What are the challenges, societal challenges, environmental challenges they need to take care of? And this is the way how we can help them not only identify, but also mitigate these challenges. Now going forward, these principles included in the multinational enterprises guidelines of the OECD. They're also included in national policies, rules, and regulations. So if companies or corporate entities, they can familiarize with these ideas and with these guiding principles, these are not legally binding principles. These are just recommendations. Some of them are just due diligence guidances, some of them are in a form of handbooks, but they help companies. Now, if they can familiarize with these principles, they will be able to meet or better address the challenges they face on the external markets and also internally. Because let's not forget that the principles and the rules, they should be also taken into consideration both at the domestic level and the external level. So as a starter, I wanted to say these few things, and I will happy to contribute to the latter part of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I look at the few key takeaway I'm taking is number one, have a platform for dialogues, right? Get a platform and based on a great set of rules and to tackle the issue. Secondly, is these guiding principles or recommendations are very crucial because those are proving, methodology or ideas or practice, especially for Chinese business going broad, how they can from the day one get familiarized with all these principles, so they can they have, easily integrate into part of the global market. Thank you so much. Next, 下边我想邀请
And now I'd like to give the floor to President Jin, because just now we've given the floor to His Excellency's Ambassador, the Minister Counselor, and the Senior Advisor. So now I'd like to give the floor to President Jin, because we know that you've been working for the international trade and economic cooperation. You've witnessed a lot of Chinese enterprises go global, including SOEs and private enterprises, including the international companies' success experiences. So can you share with us that under these current changes, how the Chinese companies can make a breakthrough of these area of changes? I believe that just now, Kevin Wang from TCL has given us a very good example already, and a very good answer to the Chinese enterprises go global. And I believe that when Trump takes office, the protectionism and de-globalization and the tariffs rising will trigger more and more contradictions and conflicts in the future. I believe that it would not only be bad for America, but also bad to the other countries, and the countries from Europe and other countries will not welcome this. But this trend will be intensified in the future. So under this trend, Chinese enterprises has made the earlier deployment, including global and globalization. More and more enterprises now are continuously working together with American partners and Europe partners to do business. And Chinese business has also becoming the largest trading partners of over 140 countries, because we have a lot of export to these countries. We're also intensifying the imports. For example, we have the expo for imports in Shanghai, and we also have the expo of a supply chain in Beijing. So these are showing China's attitude. So when Chinese business are go global, they're also enjoying a lot of advantages. For example, these national behaviors will help to improve the market share of the Chinese business, and they can also optimize the resource allocation. They can also build in their new brand. At the same time, especially under these new technologies like AI, etc., there will be more and more measures for the trade facilitation. There are multiple ways for international logistics. I believe that this type of cooperation will definitely be better than confrontation. And the cooperation is better than confrontation.
Better than de-globalization. 那么我们也希望
So we hope that when Trump take office for the new American administration, they can have a very thorough consideration of the other countries and do not start the trade war, and do not randomly use tariff as a tool and as a political measure, because that will put the international trade landscape more and more complex.
That will also harm global economic development.
会长非常高见顶，而且
Thank you so much, Mr. Jing, for your insight. And you talk about your views in the context of the global trade situation. Mr. Wang, TCL is one of the important player in China's globalization. You shared TCL's experiences of so many years of development. How do you see this issue from this perspective of TCL? First of all, I also want to say thank you. I want to thank the CCG for inviting so many distinguished panelists, professionals to be with us. And TCL is really a good sample to talk about the challenges and opportunities faced by Chinese enterprises amidst globalization. Yes, as the experts say, the global environment has become more and more complicated and uncertain. 25 years ago, TCL just started its overseas business. At that time, things were better than today, but we also had challenges at that time. And we acquired French Thomson color TV because the EU had anti-dumping measures against Chinese TV sets. Do you think that was a normal thing? So when we look back at that today, probably it's no longer a problem now. However, at that time, many Chinese enterprises were really facing choices. You could choose to develop overseas by acquisitions or building new factories, or maintain your advantages along your previous supply chain. But TCL made the first choice. So by acquisition, we could sell our products locally. We could also create something locally, not only sold our products there. We hope that we could enable the TCL brand to be enjoyed by the local communities. But now things are getting more and more uncertain, of course. And back in 2018 or 2019, TCL faced similar situations. And as I said, in Vietnam and Mexico, we already had our factories, and then we started to add our capacity there. And in this round of market competition, we now gain some better opportunities than our competitors. So that proves that if you could see those uncertainties in advance, so you can think about how to distribute your supply chain. You need to look at your efficiency, and you need to look at your resilience, and then you need to start work early. If we say that all of the people in the world need high-level smart terminals, and China is always there, and we really want to export something that also includes our capability, that also includes our ability to create local jobs, and our ability to cooperate better and more harmoniously with the local partners, so that we can both enjoy long-term development. And another experience of TCL is that when the external environment is very complicated, we enjoy the companion of our various partners. For example, in Argentina, in Brazil, and in the South African countries, we already had cooperation there for over 20 years. We had a long-term partnership. We worked together to overcome the difficulties, starting from the trade ties to cooperating together to build companies. And after overcoming all those difficulties together, we realized that we could find a reasonable way to enjoy long-term development locally. Just now, Mr. Zhang shared the case of TCL in the research report. I know that we have a lot more to do. What we are doing now is not enough. Yes, we are now going into a kind of super globalization era. If you look at the supply chain logic, the customer service, etc., TCL is really in a new globalization stage, and our local responsiveness may vary according to local needs. So all of the capable companies need to be super globalized in that sense. So you need to improve your efficiency, and of course, you need to think about how to do better products. I believe there are always some standardized things to do. Yes, you need to cooperate with the local partners. And that also raised the bar for the companies too. In the past, you just did one thing and the other thing, that would be enough. But today, things are different. And I think that also means an opportunity for TCL because the requirement is higher, and probably the competitors that can really compete in this new environment are not that many. And we've already done some successful stories, and now we have a clearer target. We want to be super globalized. We want to improve our capabilities, and we need to make preparations for the things that we believe are right, and we also need to look in the long run. That's what is on my mind. Thank you.
非常
Thank you very much, Mr. Wang, for your sharing. I think that is a very important, solid idea. That is to do a good job on your own products and use your own real strength to compete in the market. And there are always difficulties and challenges in the process of development. And you want to walk a glorious path in the midst of challenges. I think that is a very important feature of the successful enterprises.
We have very excellent ideas or perspective from a different perspective. Next question I would like to ask our distinguished guest here is specifically how we can help. What are some missing part? What are learning? What are some perspective? As a more Chinese business going abroad, well, how we should, approach this market from investment, from being part of a global supply chain. So first one, I still will invite Excellency Ambassador to share from your perspective how Chinese company need to look for the investment opportunities outside.
Of course, I'm not an economist. Should give you more of a diplomatic answer, of course, owing to my experience in China and generally in elsewhere. There is more awareness I have seen in China now of the need to for linguistic linguistic know-how. China is a marvelous country full of culture, but traditionally the elite have been very Sinocentric, in my view, humble view. But now the younger generation is more outward looking, more knowledgeable of other languages, other cultures, and I think this augurs very well for the future of Chinese investment abroad. If I see, for example, in my region, there are more Chinese-speaking Arabs and more Arab-speaking Chinese. And I think this goes also for elsewhere. This is very important because language is not only a means of communication. It's a knowledge. It's transformation of knowledge, of awareness, of cultural nuances, and all this. So it's very important that Chinese investment is aware of the specificities of each region and is mindful of the society that he's going to invest in. As much as I address my elite in Egypt, that they need to know more about China, and of course to fight the stereotypical perceptions of the West and the East. And it's very important, of course, that more academic work, more people-to-people contacts are pursued to deconstruct some myth about the other. What is this other? And of course, I think part of the polarization we are seeing now in this world is because of the misunderstandings and the political manipulation by some of the prevailing conflicts. And so more knowledge, more awareness, more responsible discourse in the social media. It's all it will all play in whether in investment in other or non-investment pursuits. This is very important in my humble knowledge for China and for others dealing with China. I think, of course, that from my conversation with many Chinese friends, I think this is a very important factor they are aware of nowadays. And of course, the political, the interests are always, I believe that interests prevail in the end. No matter what political expediencies and political factors are at play, but in the end, the interests and the real core interests of people are going to impose themselves in the end on the agenda of politicians and so forth. So if you ask me, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the outcome. And of course, no matter what campaigns we have, what political posturing we see, but in the end, when we come to reality, when we come to, actual manifestations of the dynamics, then things I think will take a different turn. I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look at this as very insightful. Last year alone, I traveled twice to Mid East. One of best thing I always do visit a museum. Suddenly, it's like open a book for 1,000 years, right? I think because traditionally Chinese people we tend to stay in our home country to welcome visitors. But if you look at I look at, as you rightly said, younger generation Chinese or pioneers like TCL have been really have a courage to explore those long, right? I think one of things is people to people exchange is so critical. Before I make a trip to Middle East, I always get all impression from books, from the whatever things I can touch. When I see the people to people, that make a huge difference. Thank you so much, being the ambassador for Egypt, and I'm sure you will definitely be a very important connection between China and with the Middle East region. Thank you so much. I Let me continue the same question play with Mr. Matthias from European. This is why when I heard Ambassador was saying, it's not, we're not like European people. Globalization in your blood. I always remember some instance I speak with Dutch people, Germany, they were saying, either you're born as a global people or you are dead, right? So China, we are, all this globalization is in last 40 years, right? I would say for the modern the society, last 40 years for try to explore, try to join the global supply chain, and try to explore all these things. So what's from a European perspective, what the things you see, what the I would say principles or listen and learn, or all these things you can share with the Chinese business sectors?
Thank you. Yeah, I first of all I agree with the ambassador in the sense that I mean the more exchanges that you have, I mean the better you can understand each other. I mean this is a general consideration. We, as an example in the European Union, I mean it has been a construction that if you look at Europe, I don't know, 50 years ago or 70 years ago, and you look at it now, where, I mean, there people are moving around completely free, they know each other better. So, I mean, we are a much better place, I mean, a much peaceful place. I mean, and this is an important contribution of the European Union, not only to its citizens, but to the world, of course. But coming to your more specific question, I mean, as I said in the first answer, we are an open economy. So we welcome companies from all over the world to invest in Europe and to produce and to bring jobs and development, contribute to our societies in Europe, whether they are Chinese or from any other country in the world. Of course, what we can give to any company is, and I think it's important for them, and this has been highlighted by our colleague here from TCL. I mean, you need a stable environment. And in the European Union, I mean, we have clear rules, and we have also now, and we had it before, a clear roadmap. Of course, there will always be issues where a foreign investment will be examined with more detail. But this is something that happens in the EU, as it happens in China, as it happens everywhere. But from our perspective, I mean, we are developing the rules so that it is clear what economic security means and what are these economic sectors or these economic activities that will be more difficult to access. But this is something that, as I explained at the beginning, I think is beneficial for everybody. I mean, something that would contribute better to Chinese companies or to any other companies, of course, is that the relationship is reciprocally beneficial. And when I'm saying reciprocally beneficial, is that if the European Union is open, we want to see the same level of openness in all our partners. And we also understand that there are difficult issues to tackle and challenges. But the reality is that there is certain imbalance in what we are experiencing now with some our trade partners and also with China, and we are committed through, as I said at the beginning, multilateral frameworks, negotiations, discussions, to try to put some perspective into this and to solve the issues. It's, of course, the issues are never solved in one direction. They are never solved completely at the beginning. But, I mean, if we are responsible, all of us, at the end, I think that we can challenge and we can tackle all these different challenges. So for me, it's stability and reciprocally beneficial, and with that, any company, Chinese or any other country, of course, it will feel better when they are investing outside there. I think.
I think the reciprocal benefits, that's an important word, for many people, if they want to navigate this complexity of the global market. Thank you so much. Last but not least, let me ask Thomas. And you have been, in China for quite some time. You just share some good ideas. What are some specifically, from your perspective, look at for Chinese, what they can, better prepare as they expand their business globally?
Thank you very much for the question. And allow me to come back to my points in the previous round, but also continuing what has just been said. And I'd like to highlight 3 points. One is that any businesses inside or outside China, they need an enabling environment, which is based on rules and regulations, which nurtures fair competition and competitive neutrality. And of course, most importantly, is predictable, as just has been said. Unpredictability is the greatest enemy of any businesses and any companies around the world. My second point would be the principles that I mentioned in the previous rounds. There are basic principles and basic guidelines that have to be observed regardless of which country or in which country the company is going to operate or with which country they intend to do business. You have to consider the potential risks related to climate change, to labor force, consumer protection, for instance, environmental and biodiversity degradations, regardless of the area of your destination, be it in Africa, the European Union, or in China. And I think for this reason, this is very important. I would even say that this is an entry point for any businesses to do a proper due diligence that would definitely take into account all these potential risks associated with its business and to identify the risks that may affect the societies, people's lives, environment, and biodegradation. And my third point is, of course, the specificities, because all the countries are different. And more than ever, it has become important to familiarize with the realities, the development, the economic and social development of the countries of investment destinations or trade relations. Countries, middle-income countries, they have different requirements from countries, for instance, that belong to the low-income category, or they are at a different stage of development. So businesses definitely face a challenge to really know and learn the requirements, the development stages and the development questions and issues faced by the country that they are dealing with, and try to facilitate and help the business building a business environment, but also support the social economic development. Involve local communities into this, because any businesses, I think, another important requirement is to be inclusive. You need to include and you need to involve local communities in your businesses right from the beginning. Mr. Zhang, in his presentation on TCL, actually referred to corporate social responsibility. And I think corporate social responsibility 10 years ago or 20 years ago is different from the corporate social responsibility that we have to look after and we have to take seriously right at this moment. And I think much will depend on the ability of the businesses to work together with the partner countries and the local communities to build businesses. This will make business, together with, of course, the basic principles, this will make business sustainable and, of course, integrated into the realities of the country where they operate with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think as you mentioned, if a Chinese business want to go outside, they need to take a step-by-step approach, get the requirement clear, right? Also, they need to have a long-term strategy, how to, merge or blend it with the local community, right? I think that's very crucial. Thank you so much. 下边我想请金会长。
Now, I'd like to give the floor to President Qin. From the government and the industry association's perspective, can you share with us your opinion of how the Chinese business can go global and to reshape their value chain? What is your expectations to them, and what experience you can share to them? Thank you very much, dear Chair. And currently, people are all paying attention to the U.S. election. And Donald Trump has made a lot of very aggressive speeches. At the same time, when forming his team, we can also find out that previously the members belong to the Eagle are joining this team, and many people are saying that these members are selected to targeting China. But no matter what perspective they are taking for trade or by the others, what they are doing this is not will not just harm Chinese people, and this de-globalization will become more and more obvious. And the three features for de-globalization: one is trade protectionism. The second one is the is to exit from any type of the international organization which are not good for the U.S. benefits, and they are also going to stop the migration from the other countries, including building the wall to prevent the migrators going to America, and that will cause a lot of humanitarian disasters. So if you take these measures, including the very aggressive trade measures, we don't know. No matter they try to influence China, contain China, or protect America, but I think that will not be good. And I think Chinese people don't need to have too high expectations to them. Many of the enterprises are worrying that maybe the U.S. government would ask them to return to U.S. Definitely. So they have to consider the American market and the labor cost. Well, and what will be the consequences for them to leave China? This is such a big market. So for American companies, definitely they need to take a lot of patience. And for Chinese enterprises, they have accumulated a lot of experiences already. And we also have experienced a lot of successful cases. And besides America, there are other emerging countries in terms of population or technology development or the organizational structure. They are becoming more and more sophisticated, and the population is about 80% of the global population are from the emerging countries, including Egypt and Brazil, etc. So I believe that for Chinese enterprises, they will be a very good destination. And yesterday, we also experienced many of the African countries at the China International Supply Chain Expo, providing a lot of African products. And there are a lot of teas and coffees from Africa are quite popular among China. So this will be a very important opportunities for China to further expand international trade. We also hope that Europe and between China and Europe, now it is about to reach the end of the negotiation of the electric vehicles. We hope that there will be the very satisfactory result of the two sides, and then we're also optimizing our trade relations with many partners. We hope there will be more products entering to China, and we hope that under the leadership of the new technologies, there will be more opportunities to cooperate with the other countries. We also hope that our trading partners from Europe, including entrepreneurs, do not follow the advice and opinions from the US and not to transfer your orders from China to Europe, and do not shift your investment from China to other countries. In this way, I believe that there will be no big changes. And now, no matter in Southeast Asia or in Africa and in Middle East, Chinese enterprises also make an investment. The quality and efficiency are really high for this investment. So I'd like to share these ideas with our we can work together with the partners from Europe, from Middle East, from Africa, and Asia. By working together, we can continuously maintain the orders of the international organizations. So thank you very much, President Qin.
从您的解释里边。
Thank you very much. Yes, from your remarks, I believe that the future is bright. And all of those man-made obstacles will not always be there because they are against the general market rules. Thank you again, Mr. Jing. And the final question is for Mr. Wang. We have heard the insights of the panelists. Yes, TCL has an experience of 25 years in going global. I think in this journey, you have created a new path, an innovative path. For Chinese enterprises to go global, they are paying a lot of attention to the balance of short-term profits and long-term development. So can you say something about that? Yes, that is a good question. At the very beginning of our overseas operations, we had a very clear strategy. No, actually, we were just driven by a kind of vision. We did not have a very clear strategy. We know that Europe has the Philips and Japan has Sony, and they are famous global brands, and they have their brands, and their brands are actually driving our intention to operate overseas. When we deal with the short-term profits and long-term development goals, today we have become more and more clear about this balance. So actually, the most important thing is to make consistent input on the important things. We should not just focus on short-term gains. First, we need to increase input in technology. For Chinese enterprises to go global, I believe they need to grasp the opportunities to upgrade technologies. They should not make mistakes on the timing of the technology upgrading. Otherwise, your money will all be wasted. Just now, I talked TCL experience. The first acquisition was not very successful because there was a big technology change from traditional TV to LCD TV. We did not catch up with that. CLT technology was very good for us at that time, but today it is supported by semiconductors, and the whole supply chain, industrial chain have changed. So a new challenge is lying ahead of us. So this is what we have learned. We need to always look forward to the next generation of technologies. Probably it will bring some new businesses to us, businesses that we have never been doing until today. So TCL need to make early preparations in studying the next generation of technology. For example, the next generation of display technology, LCD, OLED, for example. OLED is used for small displays. For example, iPhone. Or in the future, will it be used for mid-sized displays or large screens? So we need to look at future technology potential and make consistent investment. OLED is something we have been working on for 11 years continuously. So that is our unique technology line. And the second thing is that we need to be committed to building a long-term global brand. To do that, we need long-term input. We need persistence. And we need to win the trust from the consumers through launching new generations of products after another. And whether the consumers can recognize your brand. Can they all recognize your brand? And how can you introduce a Chinese brand to the foreign consumers? So these are all challenges to us. So we are Chinese companies, we are going global, and we need to build our capacity in other countries. That will have uncertainties for us, and sometimes we may fail too. We know some cases where the Chinese company is going global, but they failed. They have not brought any successful stories to China. But for us, our brand is improving, and our country is becoming stronger and stronger, and our brand is more connected with good price and good quality, which was not the case 10 years ago. So we hope that the Chinese companies need to value the reputation of Chinese brand. And the third thing I want to say is that already we have our supply chain spread across the world. It's not just about selling a product. We have local investment, we have local charity activities, and we also have local sports activities, which are quite popular among the local communities, and we sponsor those activities. We want to use those opportunities to promote our brand. So all of our diversified activities work together to prove that. So you have the investment here, and you have long-term returns here. So that is something we need to strike a balance for. And just now, the report gave us 5 suggestions for Chinese enterprises. Yes, I fully agree. First, compliance is very important. What does compliance mean? Compliance mean you need to make long-term investment. Probably that will not generate any returns. And if you do not have any problems with compliance, will you stop investment? So this is something we need to work consistently on. ESG compliance are all the things that we need to work on too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Wang. I think you have been very comprehensive. And I think that is also very valuable guidance for Chinese enterprises going global in the future. Already, it's about 4:10.
For patiently listen to our distinguished speakers, and I would like to open the floor, maybe at least for 2 questions. I see a lady in the back.
That was picked up. Actually, so I'm from the South China Morning Post. 我有2个问题，第一个
I have 2 questions. I also have a question for Mr. Wang. Will you consider building a facility in the United States?
From the EU delegation. So I want to know, because there has been lots of disputes between economic disputes between EU and China in the past year, and like on EV or etc. And so I want to know whether under Trump 2.0, do you think there is opportunity for any improvement for the relationships between China and EU going forward? Yeah, that's it.
Matthias.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I mean, as you have mentioned, I mean, there have been many issues that we have been dealing with China in relation of a number of circumstances. As I said before, we are dealing with this on a rules-based framework. So I mean, we applied these tariffs, of which there are still negotiations, tariffs on EVs. As whether the relationship will improve or not or change because of the new American administration. Well, first of all, we don't really know exactly what the new American administration will imply. I mean, we know what it has been said during the campaign, but we don't really know what they are going to do in practice. So there is a lot of uncertainty. And second, I think that the issues between the China and the EU are well framed and very clear. And as I said at the beginning, we have a huge trade imbalance that is a matter of concern for us. And we also want to discuss on different trade barriers that we want to be lifted from the part of China. So I don't think there will be any material change. We will continue talking, we will continue discussing, we will continue negotiating, we will continue applying the different rules in the way we have been doing it now. I mean, because it is, I mean, I think it's, we have a very fluid relationship with China on these issues. We are discussing in many different and multiple fora. So, and I think that my expectation is that this will continue like that. And as I said at the beginning, we don't really know what the new Trump administration is going to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wang Zhong.
You know, different industries have different policies. For example, consumer electronics industry, if we want to establish assembly line in the United States, it is not quite cost efficient, but things are changing. For some sectors, probably it is necessary. Probably, I think that is also related to the United States industrial policies. So we are also following closely the changes of relevant industrial policies. This is really a good question. We've heard similar questions a lot in the past. I think for business decision makers, you need to think about whether there is growth, and secondly, you need to think about whether you will make money. You know, businesses are not politics. Businesses will not necessarily follow the politics. They will not cooperate with politics or choose to confront with politics. They want to make money. They want to pursue profitability. That is their core interest. Otherwise, they will not do it anyway. I can see there are other questions from the audience.
For our audience to interact, because we are already 4:15. I would like to request our distinguished guests use one sentence to summarize today's panel conversation. 我想先从金会长吧。
Let's start with Mr. Jim first. Just one sentence, please, to conclude this panel discussion. Maybe your expectation for Chinese enterprises going global, or the role of Chinese companies in participating in the global supply chain or global value chain. Please. As the biggest trading partner, I think, to the United States, I want to say this. We can compete with each other and don't seek for the decoupling. And second one, for the other markets, I'd like to say that the Chinese people is really sincerely want to cooperate with you, and the future world will be better and better. Thank you. Thank you, President Jin, very much for your sharing. And Mr. Wang, I want to say that the globalization of the Chinese enterprises, actually they need to do a lot, and there's a long way to go. And we should have the active recovery, and we should be persistent, and then to focus and continue to make the efforts. Definitely, you will see the hope.
Ambassador, to summarize in maybe one or two sentences. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I was very impressed by the remarks given, and I learned a lot today to further my knowledge about this subject matter. My advice, as I said, is to know more about the other, to get more knowledge, to improve the understanding between people, because this will cause a like-mindedness in so many ways. And I agree with you that businesses have their own logic, and sometimes they override political political concerns and political rivalries. This is one thing. From our perspective, of course, we need to give more assurances to the investors in our part of the world about our governance, how we manage our policies, how we ensure enabling and stable environments, as was mentioned, to attract more investment, Chinese or non-Chinese investments. And I think we need the experience of others. We need, of course, to have the best practices and experience of others to help us navigate through these uncharted waters, as we say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Matthias?
Thank you. Well, what would I say? I mean, I think that open, fair, and rules-based globalization is extremely beneficial for everybody. We should fight for it, and we, of course, in order to avoid any protectionist spiral, we need to manage the challenges of globalization. We really need to do that. Thank you.
Hemas?
Yes, an open and inclusive dialogue and global cooperation is needed to identify and tackle the challenges. No one can handle the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much. But as we're approaching the end of this panel conversation, I really want to, on behalf of Center for China and Globalization, to express our gratitude for our wonderful conversation with our distinguished guests here. I look at personally, I'm really inspired by many valuable, insightful, very candid, authentic perspective. I look at one of the things I want to maybe relate back to Mr. Wang was saying 20 years or quarter century ago. The journey has been very lonely, yeah. As a boss sent a vision for Chinese business going outside. Actually, for the management, you probably have no clue. Now, we are in a much better situation with so many like-minded people to provide a guidance process and a case study to help Chinese business going broad. I'm sure in maybe a decade or so, regardless, whoever want to bring a different favor or different context to globalization, I still will see more and more Chinese business sectors will be part of global economic development. So global supply chain, value chain of a global system, we'll see more Chinese face, but not necessarily, to not understand the context of other market. As Ambassador was saying, build a common understanding, be able to have a courage and the willingness to understand the other side of the table. That's so crucial. Without any further ado, thank you so much once again for your wonderful conversation, and I look forward to welcoming you back someday soon. Thank you so much.